What is remote ID? So, what is remote ID? Probably a good place to start would be at the FAA.gov website, where we can actually look at what the Federal Aviation Administration says it is. It's here. I think it's been here since September of 2023. It's been something that's been coming for a long time. Um, and, this is in their own words. Drones are fundamentally changing aviation, and the FAA is committed to working towards fully integrating drones into the national airspace system. So I believe, part of this has to do with the fact that, with general aviation aircraft, commercial aircraft, you have ways of identifying aircraft that are in airspace. So I do get the idea of that, the FAA wants to be aware of what aircraft are in a particular airspace, because they need to be able to manage all that. Um, so all drone pilots now are required to register, anyone who has to register their drone, you have to follow this remote ID regulation that's out there now. And it's really the ability to have a drone in flight to provide identification. It's kind of like a license plate for drones and drone operators, and it's a broadcast signal. Um, it I think this is probably just the beginning of what may be coming with this. Remote ID, they say, lays the foundation of safety and the security groundwork. This may expand in the future. Um, it it helps with law enforcement. Law enforcement can keep track of drones and where they're located, be able to identify if someone's flying in an unsafe manner or if maybe flying in an area where they're not supposed to. There's lots of things. There's called TFRs, or temporary flight restrictions, and a lot of people don't understand that. They go and they buy a drone from Costco, Sam's Club, and they charge up the battery, put it in there, and they have no care in the world. They don't think about, are they flying near an airport? Are they flying in a restricted airspace? And so on. It's something that you need to be aware of, whether you're a recreational drone pilot or whether you're looking to be a commercial drone pilot. And yeah, everyone needs to be doing this. I mean, it says including recreation, business, public safety, they need to comply with this rule on remote ID. Um, Now there's different ways to be compliant. You have drones now. The newer drones now, you come with standard remote ID, and it's a drone that has built-in remote ID broadcast capabilities. It took a while to get there. All the drones, made until recently didn't have this built in. I happen to have one of those types of drones. I'm flying an EXO Cinemaster 2 right now. Haven't really afforded to be able to upgrade to an Autel or a DJI or so on, but I actually am in this middle category here where I operate a drone with a remote ID broadcast module. And it's a little module that you can get that attaches and broadcasts your identification and location information. And the broadcast module can be added to the drone. I've registered mine. There's a lot of different ones out there. They've been varying a lot in price. I know when these things first came out, I think I was seeing prices of like $200 or $300 for these modules, which is insane considering that I think my drone cost maybe $399 at the time. It was in the 300s, or it was under $400. So it's ridiculous to spend another 50% for a remote ID module that's basically just adding weight. All right, and as I say here, there is a third option, and it's called flying in a FRIA, which actually stands for an FAA Recognized Identification Area. I don't know where any of these are at. I guess there may be a map. I have not looked at this. There's certain geographic areas where drones can be flown without remote ID equipment. So I would be able to fly my drone in one of these areas, but it would kind of defeat the purpose of what I might be trying to do. I do have a Part 107 certification with the FAA, so I can do commercial drone work. I can be paid for it. I can use video content on YouTube. I have no issues with that because I do have the certification. Without that, you're not allowed to. If you're just a recreational drone flyer, those are things that you cannot do. But the FRIA, that may be something that's useful for some people, not very useful for me. Um, I know this thing was originally supposed to come out, I think, in March of 2023. Um, yeah, I think this was supposed to come out in like March of 2023, but the issue was they were not able to manufacture enough of these modules to be able to work with drones. There was a shortage, so they had to delay it. It ended up being September. I did manage to get a hold of one. I think I actually didn't fly for a while until I was able to get that module. All right, so I'm not really here to recommend a particular one. I mean, I'm satisfied with the one that I have. The one that I have is from Potensic. It's an RID 916. Um, there may be a lot of other options out there now. It basically fits kind of like what you see in this picture. Now this is not the kind of drone I have. I have a Cinemaster too, but basically there's like double-sided tape, like locking tape, and it basically fits on here. It uses USB-C to recharge. It connects with satellites and basically broadcasts a GPS signal. There's a remote ID management software in this setup where you can go in and enter your information. Um, I guess I can do that in Edge. We'll go ahead and click on it. I'm not going to do it. I'm not connected to it. But basically, you allow a connection to it. You plug it into your computer. You can write to it. You have your registration information. This will tie this to the drone, tie it to the drone operator. And the information that gets broadcasted is not your name and address and phone number. It's not put out into the air for everybody to see. However, these signals do work off of Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. So really anybody with a cell phone and an application could potentially pick up your signal. Now, they're not going to know your name or whatever, but they would be able to track where you're located. Here are some of the technical specifications for Mode ID. This is just very brief, not very in-depth, but basically your drones, whether you've got the external module or internal remote ID built into the drone, it's going to broadcast identification and location information over radio frequencies, it uses either Bluetooth or Wi-Fi, so not very long range, but the information that gets broadcast is basically your operator's registration number or serial number of the drone, and then the drone's location, altitude, and velocity. So basically, the telemetry information for the drone. The other thing it broadcasts would be the location of the operator or takeoff point, and the timestamp of the broadcast. And this varies a little bit because you've either got the information, well, you've got it on the module, or it's built into the drone itself. So there are some challenges and concerns with remote ID. I know one of the ones that really hit me at first was the cost and accessibility of remote ID modules for older drones. I think one of the reasons that the FAA delayed it for as long as they did is because there just weren't enough of these out there for anyone to even be compliant. There weren't drones that were being built that had remote ID integrated into them, so a lot of people had to go out. I had to go out and buy a module, just like the Potensic one that I showed earlier. And the cost of those were pretty expensive. I mean, I know people that spent 150, $200. Some of them were even more. Luckily, I think mine was 70 something, which wasn't bad. But a lot of people, if your drone's not all that expensive, it gets hard to justify. But we have to be compliant, so there's really not much choice. Now, there are a lot of privacy concerns too regarding operator safety, really, and the location visibility. I mean, there are apps out there. I've got a couple of them on my phone. You can go to the Google Play Store. I'm sure there are some for the in the Apple Store. I'm not familiar with iPhones, but you, I'm sure there are drone apps there, but you can actually just download an app, and then through your Wi-Fi or Bluetooth, if there's any drones that are nearby, you can get that information. So there is a lot of potential here for misuse of the remote ID by bad actors, and I mean, criminal elements, people who might want to knock you over the head and steal your drone. I mean, now they can get that information, which puts us more at risk, frankly. I don't really like it. I've never really been a fan of it, but this is what's happening. It's going to happen. I believe the FAA is, they're wanting to integrate drones into the entire national airspace system, as they do with other aircraft. So, I mean, I think it's here to stay. Hopefully, hopefully there isn't a lot of cases of misuse, but you do have a lot of incidents already with people trying to operate drones, doing commercial work, and being harassed, things like that. There's a bad image that some people have of drone operators. And that's unfortunate. And some of that responsibility goes back on the drone operators. The people who need to be responsible. Just don't go to the store, buy a drone, start flying it, and ignore all the rules. Fly into an NFL game, into a stadium, and ignore all the you know temporary flight restrictions, ignoring all the rules. I mean, people that do that, they're looking at fines. They're looking at a lot of fines for stuff like that. So, just a word of warning: don't do that. But people that do that kind of stuff, they give other drone operators like myself a bad name. So, they're really no friends of mine. So I just want to give a little practical advice for drone operators. There's three things here I wanted to cover. How to check if your drone is remote ID compliant, some steps to retrofit older drones with broadcast modules, and then some resources for understanding the FAA rules and where to purchase modules. The first thing I wanted to talk about is how to check if your drone is remote ID compliant. All right, so here we've got the USA doc.faa.gov, and then it's /list docs. And you can find your aircraft declaration of compliance. And you can do filters in here. You can see they're all listed in here basically. It looks alphabetically, ordered alphabetically. Ag Eagle looks like it's at the top here. So you got information about the type, the tracking number, the make of the drone, the model, the category, declaration. I'm not going to get into drone categories here, but whether they were accepted, when they were accepted, you can filter, you can look according to serial number. So if you have your drone's serial number, you can also enter that in and search it that way. All right, here's an example. Since I have a brand, I have an Exo drone. I did a search. Fortunately for me, there's just three models that are listed here. There's the X7 Ranger Plus, Blackhawk 3 Pro, Mini Pro Plus. So the Cinemaster 2 is not a drone that's ever going to have the remote ID put in here internally. But you can see it was back in 2023 when that did get added in. Okay, so the next thing I wanted to cover here was the steps to retrofit older drones with broadcast modules, which is exactly the thing that I had to go through with mine. So the nice thing is that you use the same website, the usadoc.faa.gov site, to find the declaration of compliance. And in my case, it was fairly easy. I could type in the manufacturer name, Potensic, do a search, and there it is. My RID 916 broadcast module has a status of accepted back on March 7th of 2024. And as I look back on it, I think I started using mine back in April or May, so it became compliant. Now, you want to look up either according to, I guess, according to a serial number, if you have that, or the manufacturer, and you want to find this model. But you want to make sure, I'm assuming that if most of these are sold on eBay, not eBay, I'm sorry, but Amazon, other places that they probably are already compliant. But I would definitely find the model number and the manufacturer and go to this site and just make sure that it is compliant. Be wary of somebody advertising a $20 remote ID module, and then you find out later it's not FAA compliant. That would be pretty bad. All right, one of the things you want to do is you want to ensure the module's compliant with FAA regulations. And as I just showed you with the document site for the FAA, you can go there and look it up. You can look it up by the model and the manufacturer. You want to look at other considerations too, like compatibility with your drone model. What's the battery life and power supply needs? I like the Potensic one I have, the RID 916. It just has a USB-C port and it has an internal lithium battery. So when I think the charge is good for something like 4 hours, which is plenty of time. I don't have enough batteries to be able to fly that long. And then I can just take it off, plug it in, and charge it that way. So you want to look at the mounting methods as well. One of the things I ran into was if I wasn't very careful at first, and I put the locking tape in an area on the top of the drone where it actually would interfere with the props of the drone. So you want to be careful. Be careful where you're putting it. You want to put it somewhere that doesn't. You want the size, the weight, and the form factor are important. I would go with one that is as light as possible. You're not really wanting to add a lot of weight to your drone and affect the performance. And then, last, I'd say purchase one that's from an FAA recognized manufacturer or retailer. These are just some examples. I mean, there's Drone Tag, U Avionics, and others. Potensic is one. I just have personal familiarity with that one, and I'm sure there's some other good ones out there too. Leave a comment. Leave a comment in the video and let me know if you've had any luck with any particular modules. I know some people out there who still have not flown. They were so scared away by the initial prices of some of these modules. I just talked to someone yesterday who also had a Cinemaster 2, and he said he hasn't flown it in over a year because the prices of the modules were almost as expensive as the drone. And I let him know that, hey, some of the prices have come down. You can get a fairly inexpensive module. So I believe he's going to go try and do that. But just a little bit of advice. All right, I just have a few closing thoughts here. I want to say that I've hopefully I've explained a little bit about the balance that there is between the FAA wanting to integrate drones into the national airspace system, and also, the concerns about privacy, and not just the privacy of citizens who, are concerned about having drones, interfering with their privacy and their personal property and so forth. But also with the drone operators themselves. The remote ID kind of takes away a little bit of the privacy with drone operators when they're out there, and could expose them to bad actors. It could expose us to people who, might have bad intentions of, stealing a drone, using remote ID to locate drone operators, and so on. So it is a real concern. There's a lot of things that all need to work together. Um, the other thing too is, yeah, and I also wanted to mention too, please consider liking, sharing, subscribing, but also keep informed. If you're wanting to be a drone operator or you already are, stay current, pay attention to the latest news and what's happening out there. There's a lot going on right now in the U.S. government as far as banning, certain drone manufacturers. I think in particular DJI and Autel. So there's a lot going on there. What's the availability of drones going to be in the future? Are the costs going to skyrocket? Right now we don't really have manufacturers here in the United States that can pick up the slack for the kind of drones that we're getting from DJI and Autel. So there's a lot of things to keep up on the regulations and so on. One way that I do that, and like again, I'm putting another plug out there for the Pilot Institute, but I will say that was how I went about getting my Part 107. There's a little bit of study involved with that. It's not bad, but I will say the Pilot Institute has a really great program. Actually, they have good uh, programs for general aviation if you're looking to fly an airplane, not just with drones, but they have a lot of free classes for drones. They also have a class for the Part 107, and I think I paid 149. I don't even remember exactly what the cost was at the time, and I'm not sure what it is now. But I know Greg there with the Pilot Institute. He does have like a little quick 5 minute thing on YouTube about drone news, current drone news. So it's one good way to keep up to date on what's going on. I think if you're just listening to the networks, you're not going to get a lot of good information. You're going to get some stuff that's a little bit slanted and not really uh, have that much benefit to drone operators. So, yeah, please, I hope you enjoyed the video if you stuck it out this long, and look forward to seeing everybody in the next one. Have a great day.